Oh, the issue was the room mic.
Yeah, what happened was I hadn't plugged in my mixer for the Alpha Geek radio stream, but I had launched the broadcast tool. So when I plugged in the mixer, the broadcast tool didn't pick it up. I went ahead and went live. So the broadcast tool was like, well, there's no mixer. What mixer? I'm just going to use the mic on the laptop. And that's why they weren't hearing you. But it was why I was like looking down and like, I hear him. I see his levels. I've done that before. I don't know why I didn't figure that out faster. Getting old, Justin. I'm losing a step.
Dude, we all do.
Yeah.
The wolves come for us all.
Yeah, they're right. They're on my heels. Nipping at the heels. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Hey, what's up, friends?
We do this pre-show now on purpose. I know Sergeant Muffin's like, hey, you don't have to start early. The thing catches you really fast now these days, which I appreciate. But so many of you said, you know what? I really enjoy a little pre-show banter.
Pre-show.
So
Get that Joker.
Do that for you. Well, not you, because you don't like it. I understand. You can skip forward. It's fine.
Hey, by the way, I've also become very obsessed with sticker pricing. So if you ever want to have a conversation about sticker pricing.
Yeah.
Spent all day yesterday.
Like the sweet price point you found, trying to find that perfect price point?
Is balancing out volume of stickers.
Yeah.
So you get your price
demand
or PPS down.
Right.
Right. It's not exactly demand
price per sticker.
Yeah, is actually not terrible because it's gonna stay fine. It's not like it's gonna go bad.
Right. But you want to maximize it. You want to get that demand up as high as possible.
Well, I mean, sure, yes, but that ultimately, the big things that don't move are postage, packaging, and price. So you want to put together an attractive package that is per sticker.
Here's a sticker secret I would like to know.
Yeah.
Do you meter or do you just use stamps?
I just use stamps.
Okay. Would it save you anything to meter, or is that like the floor is stamps and so there's no point because we wouldn't
all right, wait. By meter, what do you mean?
Like you can get the little meters and then it tells you exactly how much to pay per envelope versus just going with the stamp.
Oh, yeah, no. Well, I have I'm working on the Dymo thing, but I don't think that there's really you can't get less than
the first class stamp. Yeah.
Letter, right?
Gotcha. I guess you can get if you can do bulk. There's carrier route sort. I don't know what that is. I'm just saying things.
There is. That might. I mean, listen. This is the rabbit hole. Darren told me this when I was talking to him. I went to him for his sticker expertise, and he was like, "Listen, it's a dark rabbit hole of and the postal system."
We'll pick up sticker talk after the show. Are you ready?
Go.
Let's do this. Here we go.
Podcasts about technology in your daily lives from people who like to put pants on frogs, and one guy with a trustworthy-looking beard. The Daily Tech News Show with Tom Merritt is brought to you by you and I at dailytechnewsshow.com/donate.
Ooh, it feels different. I made it crunchy. This is the Daily Tech News Show for Thursday, May 12th, 2016. I'm Tom Merritt. I got a new mixer, Justin Robert Young.
Hey, well, you've got an old friend in me, so we can cut down the tech news together.
Excellent. Yeah, we're going to talk about Apple's pivot. There was a very interesting article on aboutavalon.com, which is really just a site run by Apple Analyst Neil Cybart, about the R&D budget of Apple and why no one's really talking about it. And well, now everybody's talking about it, so we're going to talk about it too, give you our perspective about Apple and cars. But let's start with a look at the headlines. Google launched a keyboard for iOS Thursday. Google launched a keyboard for iOS, just in case that's not quite sinking in, called Gboard, of course. It includes swipe typing, which is common on a lot of keyboards, easy access to GIFs, emoji search, so you don't have to go, where is the fish flag. You just type fish flag. Google Search, of course, has a button of its own that you can activate and then search without even exiting the keyboard. Search results show up as cards that can then be tapped to paste a link into whatever you're typing. And you can also use the paste button from iOS to add the card itself into, say, a text message.
You know, I feel like we're kind of getting back to the good old days, right? Like,
yeah. How so?
Google has a vested interest in making best-in-class iOS software, which is where so much of the initial success of iOS came from, with, you know, Maps being something that was very, very good. Obviously, you are still using, I mean, Google Maps now is an app, right? And they've never stopped developing for it. But this is something that I'm very excited about. I just went ahead and downloaded the Giphy keyboard. Get out of here. Now this is going to be a way better and easier way that I can do what I want on these keyboards. It's also another win for iOS, loosening up the restrictions on the keyboards and saying, hey, you want to know what? This is an element that we are now, an element of our platform that we are secure enough that you can let some wacky stuff in there, and if something goes awry, you are not going to blame iOS as a platform.
Although, as loose as they went a couple of years ago when they had the keyboard thing, and I still have problems where, oh, wait, my keyboard isn't showing up in this particular situation, or wait, how did I switch back to the default keyboard? What happened? So it's not like it should be, where you just say, this is my default keyboard. Make that the default keyboard everywhere.
No, and it is certainly not user intuitive to hit like, oh, the globe is what brings me to other keyboards. That makes a lot of sense, because when I think typing,
I think of a world of typing, and therefore I press the globe. Yeah, no, but you're right. No, it's kind of cool to see Google making a really good keyboard for iOS. Hey, man, maybe someday iOS will make a keyboard. No, that'll never happen.
I mean, come on now.
Yeah, that's just great. That's pushing it too far.
Hey, you want to know what Apple will do? Is
okay.
App faster. Bloomberg reports that Apple has reduced approval time for new submissions to the App Store from a mean of 8.8 days 1 year ago to a mean of 1.95 days today.
Now, this Bloomberg article does point out that the number of app submissions is probably pretty steady these days. So it's easier to build a system around it. But that's a pretty good reduction, no matter what.
So lump this in with some of the rumblings that you had with the podcasting store and big podcasts.
All right.
Were rattling the gates of Apple, saying, hey, you want to know, be a better partner to us. I feel like if there is, and we're going to get a lot more into the future of Apple, and certainly it might not rely on services, but it is encouraging that in this pipeline, which obviously is very important to them money-wise, people who are buying apps is a huge way that they can keep iOS fresh and is a revenue stream for them, that they actually made progress on it. This is a developer-friendly move that they apparently have taken a concerted effort and have now made better. Certainly this is inside baseball for me and you, but we can certainly hope that maybe that extends out to things that are a prestige project and not necessarily something that makes them money, like podcasts.
Yeah, for sure. And granted, they make money off the App Store, but it is a small percentage of the money they make. It's not insignificant. I'm not trying to belittle it, but I'm saying, like, this isn't where they make their bread and butter, but they are devoting some energy into making it a better developer experience to keep people on the platform. That's fair. That's a good thing to do.
And a large element of wherever they go hardware-wise, if they always want to be the guys who make the great hardware and platforms, they will always rely on developers. They need to take care of developers. This was a long overdue way to do that for so many of them.
Yeah, and I guess my point is, there's some money there, but they're not doing it just for the money. They're doing it for the loyalty.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I only said money just to differentiate between they make an amount of money doing apps. They make zero money with podcasts.
Opera's latest developer version of its browser for Windows and OS X now features a power-saving mode. The hits just keep on coming from Opera. Again, this is in the developer version. Opera claims the mode can increase battery life as much as 50% compared to Chrome, or older Opera versions by reducing background activity and page redraw frequency, as well as changing the way video playback works. The mode automatically turns on when you unplug your laptop. If it tells you're on battery power, just switches into that power saving mode for you.
So what's the deal? I mean, are we just going to get a pony? Is Opera just going to say, like, hey, give us your address, we'll also give you a pony? If you
I would expect that is the next announcement. They're like, hey, we're about to be bought by Chinese investors. Who wants a pony? We're just going to spend the cash. Who wants it? Yeah.
I just feel like that at some point at Opera, there was a whiteboard of stuff they'd like to do. And then as soon as this developer merger or this merger kind of came along, or this buyout came along, they just started... The red pen got lost, and the green pen became all that anybody could write with, and everything got a check. It was like Oprah. Like, I'm sure the project manager just came into the developer.
VPN gets development, and battery saving gets development. Yeah, absolutely.
Humanize has a $799 virtual reality camera called the Views up for pre-order. Camera has 8 lenses, 2 on each side of the square device, and you can capture 360-degree video in 4K. The camera comes with a software suite that stitches together the video and lets you add filters to edit. Shipping starts in October. This is a very weird time for this kind of product, Tom.
Yeah, we got all kinds of stuff that came out of Mobile World Congress, came out of CES. We've got a lot of people doing very inexpensive 360-degree cameras that only use 2 sensors. And of course, we also have, I'll just go ahead and tell you about it, the $15,000 version. If you had that to spend, you've been approved by GoPro, and you might be seeing your 16-camera GoPro 4 Odyssey arriving soon. GoPro told The Verge that the first few have shipped to the first people in their limited access program. That's mostly VR companies, VR production companies. GoPro says it's still accepting applications, though, and shipping out rigs in waves as they're made. So I guess what Views is trying to say is, hey, we're better than those 2 camera sensors. We're going to have a pretty quality thing here. We're going to give you some stitching software. So it's not entirely, the cheapest approach you could take, but you don't have to spend $15,000.
So here's, GoPro is for many, in many ways, the industry standard for professional VR now. There are rigs that you then run through a stitching program. The problem with all of these is that unless you are getting paid, and I take this from having worked with Discovery Digital for the VR videos that we did with Brian, unless you have money on the other end of people saying, hey, go do this in VR for us, these are not products being created for end users in mind. It's not like for example, let's say, obviously, Facebook Live video is a big thing. Periscope is a big thing. If you developed a camera for that specifically, you are now developing hardware to solve a specific solution. There was, all the millions of super cheap high-definition cameras that came out for vlogging or personal photography and stuff like that. There were use cases for these things to exist. I get the $15,000 one on some level, because you can then say, hey, look, brands, we have the best and brightest equipment that we are going to shoot your hashtag content on. I don't quite know where the $800 one steps in, unless you are very interested in doing something that is sub that, or you want to get started in branding.
Yeah, it's the enthusiast, it's the prosumer, and Views is making a gamble, saying, hey, if we can get some people using this, then as that crowd grows, hopefully we'll have a name out there that people get passed around, like, I got that Views camera, and they have a new one out that's even better and cheaper and whatever.
Now, I think for that, you are certainly seeing, you've had a lot, I think more so than I would have expected, hullabaloo around both the Oculus Rift and more specifically the Vive in terms of user experiences. If for whatever reason original video content becomes something that is interesting for people who have those devices, then I can see an $800 device being something that people really
And that's the gamble, right? It's like YouTube allows 360 degree. Now Facebook is allowing 360 degree, and of course you've got the Oculus and the Rift or and the Vive, and you've got PlayStation VR coming. They're wanting to get that out on the market. Remember, not shipping until October.
Yeah.
So they're trying to build up some pre-orders so that hopefully by the end of this year there's a little bit of wave and they can ride that.
But let's be clear. 360-degree video in a browser right now is as interesting as and exciting as downloading a PDF to read a novel on your computer was pre-Kindle, pre-iPad.
And some people got really excited about that.
There were, and yet
no, you're right. It's such a good analogy. Like most people were like, "Why would I do that?" And there were some people like, "Oh, but look, I'm reading a book on my laptop. It's amazing."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recode has sources that back up an earlier report that the information reported that Google is working on a voice-activated assistant similar to the Amazon Echo. Internally, it is apparently called Chirp. Plans are to launch it later this year, although it may be showed off at the Google I/O.
My guess is it won't be called Chirp at Google I/O if we see it. That's probably just an internal name. I don't know. It seems like it'll be called the G-Sistant or something if it were to fit.
The G unit?
The G-Man.
G-unit?
But yeah, I mean, it's about time that we saw OK Google, oh, sorry, everybody, fit into a device. I think that's smart given what Amazon Echo is doing and the fact that Google has a smart home initiative. Alphabet owns Nest, so they got a sister company. Apparently Tony Fadell's group at Nest was going to work on something like this, and that didn't happen. And Google's building a little hardware thing. They've got projects. They've got the Nexus devices, of course. They've got the OnHub router. We're going to see a little Google hardware. I don't know what to call it. It's not an empire, but a little very solid Google hardware business developing.
We will see where this goes. I think they obviously have their voice activated technology in the right place. They certainly have the algorithms that can make it as smooth as Amazon has with Alexa. Sorry for everybody, but they we'll see. We'll see where this lands. Also, we will see where the mood of the nation is as we start to get a little bit more of these, like, well, is the FBI just like, are they able to just kind of listen to this always on microphone?
Well, wait a minute. First of all, the mood is already there. Everybody assumes that the FBI is listening to anything they have. I don't think there's any evidence.
I am.
Yeah.
You are. People who listen to this show are.
But most people have gone through that and gotten to I don't care. That's what I'm thinking.
I don't know if my mom has thought about that. I don't know if my mom, who has yet to buy this, has thought about that on that.
My mom definitely has not. It's a very good point. So Gloria and Diane need to think about this.
Let's schedule a call. We're going to knock this out.
Yeah. GeekWire has a write-up of Paper ID, a battery-free RFID paper that can detect touches and swipes, being developed by the University of Washington, Disney Research, and Carnegie Mellon. Antennas are printed on paper, and then the integrated circuit is added with a sticker. You can also choose to draw the antenna in conductive ink. Machine learning then allows interruptions in the signal to be classified in 7 different interactions, and they showed them off in a video. So of course you cover the antenna, they can detect that, touching it, sliding across it, turning the paper, a swiping movement, and even hand waving above the antenna can be detected. And so suddenly you've got what is a very limited but effective touchscreen interface that you can add with just paper.
This is amazing. I love this technology, and I love that there will be somebody smarter than me, either in the chat room right now or in emails that will come into the show tomorrow, that will be able to explain all the many ways that this will be amazing. But right now, I have no idea other than just to have that initial geek reaction saying, wow, that's cool.
I mean, if you watch the video, they're all demo fun, right? Like, oh, I touch the paper and the light goes on. I can put a piece of paper on the side of a house. And I can see where a lot of these demos are the kinds of things that would bring down manufacturing costs. But the only one that really popped out was the pop-up book, where you have a pop-up book that then automatically causes your phone or your computer to play sounds and videos as you're turning the pages. And that was the one where I started to realize, okay, it's not just about cost reduction there. That's something that would be a lot harder to do otherwise.
Yes, and I think that that's really the fun part about it is the idea that there can be these different like somebody's going to look at this set of tools and say, I can move the world with them. And like that's what cool stuff like this always gets me really excited about. Quartz reports that Sunday, May 8th, a sunny and windy day caused solar, wind, hydro, and biomass plants in Germany to account for 55 watts of the 63 watts of power being consumed. That is 87%. The average that is 87%. The average last year in Germany was 33%. While gas plants went offline during the glut, nuclear and coal plants did not, causing them to have to pay to put power onto the grid, while industrial consumers earned money for using electricity.
Yeah, so you're seeing a lot of headlines like solar power caused people to have to be paid to use electricity. And if those people are owners of big industrial plants and you're talking about a small period of time on a Sunday, then yes, that headline is true. This is more about the inflexibility of coal and nuclear plants, not to be able to reduce their capacity as fast. But it does mean that you're generating quite a bit more renewable energy in Germany than a lot of people expected.
Certainly so. And you know, it just kind of shows you what I mean. I don't know. I guess my instinct here is to say something very, very nice about green and renewable technology, and I believe in it, and I think it is something that continues to be refined to be better and be more utilitarian. But I don't want to. I want exactly the qualifier that you put up front. Like, you don't want to say, and now solar, the new king, bow down, other technology.
Close all the other plants. Not quite yet. Not quite yet. But again, these are the kinds of things on the way to having at least, if nothing else, a more diversified energy profile. And Germany has a goal of 100% renewable, so maybe they'll actually get there. Google today open sourced SyntaxNet and a component for it that's getting all the headlines called Parsy McParseface. SyntaxNet is a syntactic parser framework for understanding sentences. So it's natural language processing. It's a framework that you can now use, it's open source, and train it to recognize language. Parsy McParseface is its English language plugin. So if you don't want to bother training it to know English, plug in Parsy McParseface, and boom, your SyntaxNet can understand English. Google claims it can understand the grammatical structure of sentences as well as most trained linguists and can achieve 94% accuracy on news articles, which probably is more than most of us.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And it's open source, so you can just go use it.
How long do you think this McParseface thing is going to is going to last? You think?
Okay, I wondered if this was convergent evolution, where they had already named it Parsy McParseface and then got a little extra boost because of Bodie McBoatface.
Yeah.
Because that structure, that linguistic structure of something makes something face, has been around for years. Don't call it a comeback.
The moment now.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's in the spotlight.
Yeah, the success and ultimate betrayal of Bodie McBoatface has brought this to a new level. That can be understood. Barclays announced that its own mobile payment system will roll out in June. Contactless mobile will be enabled if the Barclays app detects a compatible smartphone with an eligible Barclays account. Customers are limited to 30 quid with tap and pay, with larger amounts of up to £100 requiring a PIN or fingerprint. The platform, the rollout will be phased out over a number of days, and customers will be notified when it's available.
So not playing in anybody else's backyard. Barclays is going it alone. Cory Doctorow has a plea on EFF.org to save future tech companies from the W3C's approval of encrypted media extensions, or EMEs. The EMEs are the W3C standard, but to take advantage of that extension, you'll need to get a content decryption module, and you have to obtain that from a rights holder or a partner of a rights holder. Doctorow points out that any browser that tried to render such video without getting one of those decryption modules modules would fall afoul of the US DMCA and laws like it being added around the world because of things like the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So therefore, if a company doesn't want a browser to succeed, they could just withhold the content decryption module, and there would be nothing the browser could do about it. Motion to require W3C members not to use the DMCA to attack new entrants in such a manner was overruled. So this is a last-ditch effort to do something to say, hey, we don't like EMEs. We know Tim Berners-Lee says they're necessary. We think they can be used for ill, and we should try to stop them or at least figure out a way around them.
Yeah. Tom, do you think that this is a noble cause?
I definitely see both sides of this one. Cory Doctorow is not wrong. He's right. Let me just go ahead and say Cory Doctorow is right that this can be used in an anti-competitive manner. You could say, I don't really like Netflix, so I'm not going to give him my content decryption module, or I'm going to charge him really high. Let's just say I'm Sony and I have pictures, and Netflix wants to start and stream video, and they're like, well, we'll give you the rights, but we won't give you the CDM. Like, you can use it to raise prices and raise the entry barrier. You can use it to keep browsers out. Same time, I also understand Tim Berners-Lee's side of it, which is to say, all we're doing is saying DRM exists, and therefore, if it exists and it's widespread, we can either incorporate it into the standard or still deal with crappy DRM implementations that are even worse.
So, I mean, and this is my only thought with this. And I love Cory Doctorow, and I've followed his writing for pretty much as long as I've been on the internet. But whenever I see his name on a very, very big and important topic like this kind of standard stuff, I have this, I think, probably the same initial thought, which is he's probably right, but also he has a tendency to be a bit of a bomb thrower on stuff, and I to oversimplify complicated issues.
I think he likes to set the danger level a little farther because otherwise people don't pay attention.
Yeah.
So it's a way to get people and say, hey, you know what? You might not have another Firefox. You might not have another Netflix if things go as bad as they can, and this is the bad ways they could go.
Your house is on fire, and you run in, you're like, what? Where's the fire? It will be if you don't change the battery in your smoke detector.
And it's important to change that battery.
It's very important. Western Digital finished the process of acquiring SanDisk. The original deal was announced in October and included Chinese company Unisplendor buying a 15% stake in WD, who backed out in February, dropping the value of the deal to $16 billion.
And another acquisition, the California Public Utilities Commission was the last agency in line to approve Charter's acquisition of Time Warner Cable, and they did. So that deal is now cleared to move ahead. Charter CEO Tom Rutledge said the deal is expected to close next week. Just a couple of footnotes there. I like to make sure to report when the deals actually happen, because a lot of people think that the announcement of the deal starting is it.
And especially for big telecom and cable mergers, that so often is not the case. Like
they take a long time.
Body record.
Thanks to SB Sheridan, Motang, Steve I.O., Captain Kipper, Tommy Russo, all the folks at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com for submitting stories, and thank you for voting on them. If you went and voted today, print yourself a sticker that says, I voted in the Daily Tech News Show subreddit, and go wear it in pride. And that's a look at the headlines. All right, let's get into this Above Avalon story. Analyst Neil Cybart has a pretty good reputation for being able to predict where Apple is going earnings-wise. He's a financial analyst that left Wall Street because he says, hey, I was frustrated that people weren't really paying enough attention to the details of Apple, so I started this blog, aboveavalon.com. He makes his money charging for information and newsletters, and he's got a free post up today pointing out that he thinks people are overlooking the fact that Apple is spending more and more money on research and development every year. They're on track for $10 billion of R&D spending in 2016. That's up 30% over last year. For comparison's sake, 4 years ago in 2012, they were only spending $3 billion a year on R&D. And back when the iPhone launched, they were only at $1 billion a year. R&D has outpaced revenue growth. He estimates that Apple will spend 6.8% of their revenue on R&D in 2017. Historically, it's been around 2, and it's been rising into the 3s, probably going to hit 4 something this year. And he says the reason people are missing it is because Tim Cook just comes out and says, we've got lots of great products for you. And everybody goes, yeah, we know. You always do. And they don't pay attention to the fact that he's really signaling like we're researching a lot of stuff. It may not come out fast. And Apple, unlike Google, unlike Amazon, unlike Facebook, doesn't like to share their plans. They benefit from surprise marketing, and they benefit from not suppressing their own sales. If they were to come out and say, here are all the new devices we're going to have, a lot of people would just decide to wait for one of those new devices to come. So what do you think of this idea that he has here that it's probably either wearables, which we know they're already in with Apple Watch, or cars that are taking up the majority of this money, Justin, and Cybart thinks it's cars.
Well, let's also take a look into the past, because a lot of this is being qualified. And the one thing that you can say is, as this number balloons, is so has their war chest, which was not what it is now, what it was when they were launching the iPad or even the iPod or something so long ago. So it is also important to note that their lack of R&D spending has also been one of those things that comes up on, that, they should be spending more. You should always be spending a certain percentage of what you make on R&D. That's general good business practice. They've, in general, been below that, especially, like you mentioned, compared to companies like Google, or more specifically Microsoft, which has its own cottage industry of having a gigantic reputational R&D department that they trot out at CES to show off amazing things that they never actually wind up releasing.
Right, like tablets in 2001.
Exactly. With all that being said, I offer a hearty and official doy. They're getting into cars. Becoming a car company is incredibly expensive, especially when you have what I believe that this is the first person to say it, but certainly not the last, that if Apple releases a car, it will not be a product in the way that they could release a television, in the way that they could release something that is a higher ticket item. When Apple releases a car, and I say that just in this science fiction scenario, not proclaiming that they definitely will, they become a car company, and other things that they sell will be secondary to it, either because they're on a natural trajectory of declining sales, like we saw for the first time with the iPhone and stuff like that, tablet sales have not been a forever explosion in the same way that iPhones were, but because this is a lifestyle choice, they will have no choice but to say, buy our cars, and then also we do other things on a level that they have never really done. Even with the iPhone, as much as that became their dominant product, they were never like, buy an iPhone and then also we sell computers. They will be forced to do that if they start selling cars, and more specifically if they're successful.
Yeah, I think one of the things Cybart points out is that you would think, oh, well, maybe they're just going to come out with a load of new products, but the way Apple functionally is organized would stretch them too thin. We haven't seen them come in and add a bunch of executives. They keep these teams very tight, and they keep them focused on exactly what they're working on: the laptops, the phones, the tablets, the watch. We see them bringing in lots of car experts. And in fact, we talked about not too long ago that Tesla's VP of Vehicle Engineering, Chris Porritt, seems to have taken over from Steve Sandusky in whatever Project Titan is, which everyone assumes is a car. So I went and I did some poking around. They have hired the former president and CEO of Mercedes-Benz Research, a safety designer from Autoliv, a couple of Tesla mechanical engineers, a Tesla product design manager, the guy from Emco Gears that designs transmissions, the manager of electric and fuel cell vehicles at Ford, and the list goes on. Drivetrain engineers galore. So they are not hiring, and some of these people are just being brought over from iOS to do the platform, because a lot of people have said, well, maybe they're just going to have a platform that is a little more robust than CarPlay. That doesn't seem to be what they're doing here. What they're doing here is designing a car. And we were talking in the DTNS analyst Slack about the fact that drivetrain is very computer controlled. And I think it was Steve I that was saying that. And so these are the people you would need if you were designing a car, but it doesn't mean you're going to build it. You're going to look for a partner, the way Apple partners with Foxconn to build phones. And thinking about it some more just now, Apple, remember, didn't have a ton of retail stores when the iPhone came out. There were some, but they really partnered with AT&T and leaned on AT&T as the place for you to go buy the iPhone in the early days. And they still lean on those carrier partners. So I imagine they would lean on a dealership partner as well.
Yes, I mean maybe. I think cars, and again, I mean, like so yes, like that is a very, very reasonable, perfectly understandable way to look at that problem. That's not the way that Tesla's gone, and Tesla hasn't gone that way for very, very specific reasons. But let's take it back 2 steps. It is fully reasonable, I think, for me to say that in 5 years Apple will be a car company. However, I also think it's fully reasonable for me to say that in 5 years, Apple will have totally abandoned Project Titan and wrote it off as something that they didn't want to do.
In fact, if you say both of those like you just did, you can now claim to be right no matter what happens.
Well, but I mean, I guess, and here's the point, is that Apple is secretive about these things because they want to give themselves maximum flexibility. They want to give themselves the ability to cancel a project at 11:59 before they are going to release it. It is fully reasonable for me to think that in 5 years Apple will not be putting out cars, but will have bought Tesla, and they will be putting out cars, right? Like I think that everything is on the table. What is interesting is that this problem is something that they need to go outside of what their core strength is, which is hiring engineers, hiring designers, rapid prototyping, and artistic flexibility to say, this is not done until we really want to release it. That's always been their strength in terms of building consumer devices, be them computers, laptops, or mobile devices. This is something that they need to go far outside their wheelhouse. They can't just bring people in to Cupertino and say, hey, look at all the facilities we have. Look at all the brain power we have. They need to go raid other things. They need to go deal with other people. They need to go open plants. They need to go rapid prototyping for an automobile is totally different. So that's where I think we get this larger expenditure, is that like they're working out muscles that they have not worked out before, which in and of itself is very rare for Apple. They've kind of been very good at just expanding, even when they've gone outside of their wheelhouse. It's like 5%, 5%, 10%, 10%, and this is...
I mean, going into a phone is not as big a deal as going to a car, but at the time they did it was unexpected. If I've tried to find this quote here. I was throwing at Big Jim earlier, but it was the CEO of Palm at the time, who was talking about the idea in 2006 before Apple came out with the iPhone, and basically said, you know what, they would not be able to do that. Palm CEO Ed Colligan. We've learned and struggled for a few years here figuring out how to make a decent phone. PC guys are not going to just figure this out. They're not going to just walk in. Probably heard that quote before.
Yeah.
So this is a stair step up, but they like to climb stairs at Apple. It was inconceivable they would do a phone, and they totally did a phone, and they did it very successfully. This is a much bigger jump, but that's the kind of thing that Apple likes to do. And in fact, if you're Apple, you're looking at it like, we had a big jump with the iPod, and then we had an even bigger jump with the iPhone. So we need to get wearables is a bit of a jump, but we need an even bigger jump this time. Let's make a car.
Now, all that being said, if you were going to look at the other side of what Cybart says, which is that this is partly wearables and where they want to go with wearables, I think that is something where, and again, as I still have my Apple Watch on, I wear it every day, I like it a lot. There is still, we have yet to see the iPhone or iPad of the wearables genre, and that will specifically come with an affordable, cheap device that can operate functionally as something other than a mirror for my phones.
And Apple becoming a car company, I don't think means they become GM. I think they do partner on a lot of the manufacturing. I don't think it means they stop making consumer electronics. I think that they obviously continue to make all of their successful products, including Macs and MacBooks. In fact, they have bought enough VR companies like 3D Interface, 3D sensing company PrimeSense, an augmented reality company called Mateo, a mocap startup, that they are probably going to continue to roll out new consumer electronics, probably in the area of VR in some way. But I think what, Justin, you're trying to say, and I think it's right, is cars will dominate the business and the rest of it will become other divisions that support that.
Yeah. I mean, just by risk and probable profit alone.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's you can't put out a car small, right? Unless you are selling them one by one out of the garage of your crazy flying saucer headquarters, right? Like, you can't do it in a small way. It's going to be gigantic. It's going to be on the cover of Time magazine. It's going to be this monumental thing that this company, which is very well watched and very well surveilled, is going to have to do in a gigantic kind of way. But all that being said, I don't know that this is a sign that they are looking very hard at a lot of things. I don't think it is in any way a definite sign that any of this comes to fruition.
It's a sign that they intend to. It's not a sign that it will. You're absolutely right.
Sign that they're looking like they are now, and that is news. That is something that we should look at. That is something that we should discuss. That they are taking a hard look at pivoting, and they will take every element. It wouldn't. I mean, again, this is a company that could build an entire division, have a car ready to go, ready to release, and they say, "You want to know what? It's not
good enough.
Not good enough," and they could shutter everything.
Yeah, they've got the cash to do it. And then, maybe they acquire Tesla. Maybe they acquire somebody else. And maybe they just sit on the patents. There's all kinds of exit strategies there. All right, let's get to our pick of the day from William Bryan in Schenectady, New York, called My App Sharer. He says most power users know about APKs. Those are the apps that will extract the installed APK from the system for, this app, My App Share, will extract the installed APK from the system for reinstall. He says, my primary use is to back up apps before they get updated from the Play Store. So in other words, he can grab that APK, which is just the thing that makes the application work, and hold it aside before it gets overwritten with the update. He says, have you ever been in the situation where you regret updating an app? Maybe they killed a feature or changed a UI element. With the APK, you can load it back. I also use it to back up the apps I know I need before wiping the phone. This way, I'm not searching for them in the Play Store or waiting so long for them to download from a restore. So it's kind of a cool little thing. My App Sharer in the Google Play Store. Send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find more picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. We got something for Nathaniel, our electrician friend, who was asking us what kind of tech stuff he might want to learn to make himself a more attractive installer. Bryce in Maine says, as a network engineer that works closely with cabling installers, I think Nathaniel should learn some of the low voltage cabling standards. BICSI RCD certification would be a good add. RCD stands for Registered Communications Distribution Designer. It's been my experience that many electricians simply don't understand low voltage cabling is different than high voltage, and the resulting kinked Cat6 cables are evidence of that. Despite the move toward wireless everything, there's still a low voltage cable going to those access points. If the cabling is bad, so is the wireless connection. And being able to say, oh yeah, I can run Cat6 cable for you. I can install that while I'm putting in your wires might be a pretty attractive thing. I like it.
It's always good to be able to bolster your skill set. But that is, I applaud Nathaniel for saying, you want to know what? Let's look forward. Let's gird ourselves for the coming. And going to say apocalypse, but maybe it'll be a money apocalypse.
Electropolis. Hey, and thanks to Bryce in Maine. More Blackberry love coming in. Lots of Blackberry love coming in, Severin. Kevin wrote, my 17-month-old girl is Blackberry diehard. She has a Bold Touch 9900 from my previous company after they sunset the servers. She loves it. Loves the keyboard. Actually loves any keyboard. Absolutely adores the tactical feedback she gets from mashing those buttons. She also likes the fact that unlike the 5 and 6 inch phones of today, she's able to mash buttons with one hand while clenching her security blanket with the other, or two-handed for some serious button mashing while watching the Wiggles. Me, I'm still quite interested in an Android phone with an actual keyboard. The Priv was interesting, a little too big with it fully extended, and a little expensive. Couldn't get it here in Australia anyway without some serious effort. But he's looking forward to phones that are rumored for release from Blackberry this year.
Yes, 17-month-old approved.
Yes, all ages, people of all ages love a Blackberry. Thank you, Justin Robert Young. People of all ages love Justin Robert Young, too. Why is that, Justin?
Well, probably because of my winning smile and my real engaging personality. But I'll tell you what, if you like what we do here on the show when I'm on, or some of the other projects, including the morning stream, Night Attack, politics, jury, here's a way that you can show that you enjoy the stuff that I do. Buy some stickers. So we had this live Night Attack show in San Francisco, and I decided to make some sticker packs just to have something to sell at the show. They went pretty fast, but we still had a few left, so I set up a little site, stickersordiaf.com, and I decided to sell the rest. And those went within like 2 hours, and so I still had more that I hadn't put in the sticker pack, so I listed a bunch more, and they went super fast as well, so I had to reorder stickers last night. Apparently there was a greater demand for Diamond Club or jury-related stickers than I had initially expected. If you would like to get your pack, head on over stickersordiaf.com. Again, stickersordiaf.com.
Get some stickers, folks. I know you like stickers.
Who doesn't?
We heard. Somebody told us. Hey, and thanks to everybody who supports this show. We don't take advertising. We don't even well, actually, I think we might have a sticker in the shop. But mostly it's just you guys saying, hey, we want to support the show. So we'll give you $1, $5 if you're an analyst, $20 a month, get you into the Slack. Go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support to find out how to support the show and get us to that day 6 goal and to that roundtable goal. We want to do a roundtable once a month where we can just talk some stuff. Patreon.com/DTNS for that. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 593-2459. Catch the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv, and visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Darren Kitchen and Len Peralta. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Wow, it's kind of amazing when you have a brand new mixer and you actually have to set levels at the appropriate volume.
Ah.
Because it works, right?
Volume, you say.
Good show.
Thank you. Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun conversation.
That was a really good kind of, especially from you, Justin, the whole kind of like, I mean, you brought up a lot of good points. I'm still on the fence.
About Apple?
It's to me, it's not so much that they have the wherewithal. I wonder if they have the stomach to do a full-on be in the car industry, because there's a lot of things that you do in the car industry that you don't do with consumer electronics. And that just, I mean, it's a different kind of gambling, I guess. You know, some people might be, totally comfortable with playing the lotto or a scratcher, but if you tell them you're going to play Pai Gow or Baccarat and you're going to be putting in like $10,000 a bet, I mean, it's a different amount of risk.
Well, yeah, I mean, and listen, this is certainly a risk, and there is an element. And this is why I almost your instinct is why I'm like, at the end of the day, unless Apple is thrilled with what they see, and they are thrilled with their delivery method, and they are thrilled with how they're going to sell them, and they're thrilled with how much people are going to buy them, for which stuff like Tesla's pre-sale has got to buoy their
for sure,
their believability in it. But if that's not the case, then I think you just go make the Godfather offer to Elon Musk and say, hey, look, would you also like to be the largest, a gigantic shareholder in Apple? And
Elon, like to meet Jimmy and Dre.
Yeah.
They got some stories to tell you.
I guess my larger point is just nothing would surprise me with this, because
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true.
Because the one thing that I did find weird about that Cybart thing is that it didn't show that number in percentage to their war chest.
You mean to the cash on hand?
Yes.
Yeah.
That yes, their R&D has exploded, but so has their cash.
Yeah, they've got a huge cash pile. I think a guy like that probably just assumes like, well, everybody knows about the cash pile. I don't need to point that out.
But that's something that that has exploded. I mean, I think that there's yes, it is important that we look at that number, because they have been R&D shy, because their point is that, listen, we don't need to employ a bunch of bespectacled boffins in a basement, dreaming of the future. We can see where the future is. Let's just focus on these two things that we know, and then we'll kill things here and again. But and
that's because they don't want to spend too many bets. They don't want to do a scattershot. They R&D a phone, and then they R&D another thing, and then a tablet, and then So to me, that big R&D budget sticks out even more, because what it means to me is that car R&D is expensive, so that is their thing that they're spending the most money on researching and developing.
Absolutely. Now, the other element of this is we've seen Beats retain its brand value, right? And you've seen Apple's car stuff be talked about as they are setting up a startup within Apple. Is there a possibility that hood ornament or whatever's on the front of that car isn't the Apple icon? It is another separate thing.
I mean, Beats has retained its brand as far as hardware goes.
Yes.
It hasn't retained its brand anywhere else. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, but anything else that they've done have been new projects that they've done within Apple.
Well, no, Beats Music. Beats Music was another pillar.
Yes.
And it is now Apple Music.
Sure, but you could see a world where Beats Music was not long for this world.
Yeah, okay.
No
Sure. But yeah, say let's just live in the crazy world where they buy Tesla. Do they leave it as Tesla?
Oh, I think they would leave Tesla as Tesla. My thought is Titan, let's just use Titan as a name.
Sure.
Is Titan Automotive their automotive thing? And now that can live and die.
I see.
On its own. And now
that's a good question. It would be very un-Apple-like to do that.
Spin anything off, it would be huge. But then again, it'd be very un-Apple-like to release a car. Right?
Yeah, right, exactly. I don't know. They get so much brand love out of putting that Apple on things, though. I mean, think of how many people put those Apple stickers that come
on their car.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
I know. I know who to rear end. No. Well, it's interesting because a lot of these conversations stem around whether or not Apple can and what path they will take. I've always imagined it as not so much that if they can, but whether they should, as a matter of course for business. I mean, the whole thing with mission creep and trying to stretch out. Is it better for them to focus as an in-car component manufacturer, or not manufacturer, but licensor, where they say, hey, we'll license you all your technology. You can put whatever car you want, but we don't need to carry the liability for the rest of the car. We don't have to worry about manufacturing.
But put that against Apple's need for control, and Apple's need to just actually say, no, we want to be the only ones with liability.
Or Apple's understanding that they can do customer care better than anyone. And
they?
That
may get some arguments on that.
Get your oil change at the Apple store.
I mean, yeah.
The Apple Care warranty on your car, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's...
No, you're right.
When you buy a laptop and it breaks, you know where to take it.
Sure.
And you get that grand Apple bargain, which is it's either free or $1,000.
Yeah.
It is a binary solution. So you roll the dice, and sometimes you get a free laptop, and sometimes you have to pay.
My mind immediately went to iCloud, where they're like, yeah, no, it just doesn't work that way. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Oh God, no. I mean, web services has always been there.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what their Genius Bar would look like if they started having to field car questions? It's just like a bunch of I don't know. Titles.
Oh, I already picked it since we got off on this.
Sorry.
I needed to pick it before now.
You did
So
Apple Record.
I picked Apple Motors ? Which isn't even in Showbot.
Apple Motors.
Apple Motors.
If they call it Apple Motors Corporation, then they can revive the AMC badge.
AMC.
And
yeah.
they can build everything back in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Chrysler owns AMC's trademark, right?
They did. They bought them out, but they only kept Eagle, and then they killed that.
No, but I mean owns the mark. Or did they lose it to Daimler when they divested themselves from Daimler? I don't know.
Now here's the other question.
Who sells Jeeps?
Chrysler. Fiat.
If you are looking,
Fiat might own AMC then.
If you are Apple, right? Because they talk about like, oh, well, you might see acquisitions from Apple, the likes of which you've never seen before. Could part of that be, if they're going forward with this car, either a full car company to buy their manufacturing capabilities, or I was very interested in what you said in terms of the dealership stuff. Do they buy a nationwide dealership to remodel?
Oh, yeah.
Like as the way that you buy an Apple car.
Sure. And then that fits in with my theory that they don't want to own a bunch of manufacturing plants, no, any more than they want to own a bunch of phone manufacturing plants. Yeah. So they strike a deal for that, but then they buy a dealership chain so that they can immediately create some Apple Motors locations. That's a good one. I like that.
Or do they say, you want to know what? We have showrooms. We're gonna buy this retail space, and then you're gonna buy it on your phone, and it'll be driven to you within 2 hours.
Oh, I mean, you can already hear the presentation at the keynote or the press conference. We're like, buying a car has never been easy. It's never been enjoyable. We think that needs to change.
No haggle pricing?
Oh, yeah. When you go to our showroom, you can test drive a car. You can pick the one you want. And then either from there or in the comfort of your own home with the new Apple Motors app, you can select the car you want the way you want it and have it delivered right to you.
Financing be worked out on the app.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have financing worked out for your computer?
If it's a self-driving car, it'd be great if it just drove itself home to you.
That's the other element, is that we're thinking of this like they want to do what Tesla's doing, right? And
right.
That makes a lot of sense, but also what if they are more self-driving kind of cars?
My guess is they would have to do both. That the self-driving cars are still such a question mark that they would have to come up with a car that they could sell as drivable, but at the same time be preparing for the self-driving car. And like Tesla, have a bunch of those features in the car you drive yourself so that it becomes a self-driving car pretty easily. Or they're just going to wait until, Google and everybody have paved the way and then just pop in with a self-driving car.
My only question is, where would they find the manufacturing capacity to actually build a complete car?
No, that's why I keep saying they're going to partner with somebody. They're just going to partner with somebody who'll build it for them. They're not going to buy the manufacturing capacity. I'm pretty, and I'm probably wrong, but I'm pretty certain about that.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just thinking of people out there. I mean, like, they could probably go with Magna because they do a lot of the component fabbing for of the big three and Toyota and stuff for car companies in North America, but also in Europe. And they're huge. They were tipped to buy Saturn when people thought Saturn was going to be
right.
But yeah, I'm just curious because it's you can have a multitude of fab plants, you can have a multitude of electronics, and even consumer electronics plants. But I'm trying to think of a situation where you could do a car that level, because you would still need to buy parts separately from subcontractors. And that brings a whole
Yeah, but that's no different than Foxconn. It's no different than what Foxconn does.
Yes and no. I would just say that the cost alone of holding inventory would be at least, I don't know, it's somewhere.
Yeah,
between
you're right
3 to
about
5.
inventory. That's true. But I mean, you could get capacity.
Yeah, but what you were saying about control kind of would cut into that, because if they do really want to, I know it's all up
You
there,
just,
but
I mean, you just strike the deal that says this is how you build it, and you build it for us. Is that weird?
I don't know how many recall. Have you gone through the NHTSA car recall? I mean, the airbag alone.
That's a different question, though.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying, is that a lot of these.
I don't see this as that much different than going and getting the FCC approvals and the other certifications for a phone, and then telling Foxconn build this phone the way we want it to be built. I guess the difference is I don't know that there are many manufacturers out there that aren't owned by the company that also designs the cars. Whereas with phones and stuff, there are plenty of intermediaries.
Yeah. Huh. We'll see. When there's an Apple car rolling around, we could then tell each other who was wrong and who was right.
Justin gets to be right either way. It's the smartest thing he ever did.
Yeah.
I mean, this is I'm continuing to evolve as a tech media gas man. Like I need to make bold predictions that are as bold as they are useless.
If someone could please go back into the episode, clip out the part where he says that Apple will not make a car, clip out the part where he says they will make a car separately, and then send them to Justin so he can have them on hand.
Yeah.
And see, I said it. Here's the evidence.
As Tony Kornheiser says, I believe I had that one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that is it. Thanks, everybody. We're published. We're good. Actually, hold on. Let me make sure I didn't screw it up like I did yesterday. I'm pretty sure I didn't.
Maybe they could give you a free barrel full of GMO-free apples with each new car purchase.
Genuine GMO-free apples financing. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening.
See you, folks.
Bye.